Joel, how long after brain surgery was it until you could walk again?
G'day, I'm Joel. I'm a personal trainer from Bondi Beach, Australia. And in March 2020, I had a tumour removed from my brain. I created this YouTube channel to bring motivation, support, and insights to anyone going through a brain surgery journey of their own. I would love to help as many patients and their families as possible. If what I'm saying is helpful, please like and subscribe.
Now, this is a great question, and thank you to Ashwari, who has reached out. And sorry if I've mispronounced your name. It's a beautiful name, but not very common here in Australia. So if I mispronounce it, I'm very sorry. Ashwari asked me this question in one of the comments on my prior videos. Her brother, sadly, is 4 weeks out from his brain surgery, and she is doing some research on YouTube and found my videos, and she asked me this awesome question. So she wants to know how long it took until I could walk again and what other physical deficits and new challenges I had. So guys, in today's video, we're going to cover 3 topics. Topic number 1, what my new physical challenges were after brain surgery. Number 2, how long I had each of them for, or how long until I started to see progress in their rehabilitation. And then 3, what my secret tips are to get the best out of your rehab and to ensure you have a really good recovery journey. Now, you're probably thinking, why listen to me? Why listen to this guy who has self-proclaimed himself to be the brain tumor warrior? So I just want to let you guys know that I'm exactly like you guys. I'm a fellow brain tumor warrior. I had brain surgery on March 11, 2020, 3 days before COVID took over the entire globe. Now, at the time, we didn't know what my tumor was until we actually cut in and performed surgery. We just knew it was growing and we needed to cut it out before my lungs and my heart stopped and I passed away. So, since surgery, we've found out I have a slow growing ganglioma. My deficits were severe uncoordination on the left-hand side of my body. It was like I had a stroke. This severely affected my walking and my coordination and ability to perform fine motor skills, especially with my left hand. Other deficits were I had severe double vision, which is called diplopia, and I also had a really, really severe swallowing issue, which is called dysphagia. So, for 3 months after surgery, I couldn't walk. I couldn't even stand up for a month. My legs just would not connect with my brain. I couldn't see clearly for 2.5 months, which, as you can imagine, laying in a hospital bed, all you want to do is read or watch something to help you pass the time, and I couldn't even do that. And then I couldn't eat anything for 3 months. So I had feeding tubes fed through my nose initially, and then secondarily I had a peg tube through my stomach after my surgeon realized I was not going to be eating for quite some time. So those are my major deficits. Those are the timelines. I also experienced really, really severe fatigue, as you warriors would know out there, where we're now way more fatigued because our brain's in overdrive trying to recover. I actually still have 20% of my tumor left, and my surgeon has declared that we just followed up with annual MRIs just to keep an eye on it and make sure it doesn't grow or we miss anything, so it's to help us keep on top of that. My huge passion, I'm ferociously passionate about connecting our brain tumor warrior community, and thus why I've created this YouTube page. Instead of us being scattered on all these different Facebook forums and asking questions that get lost in a sea of comments, I thought I will do what I can to contribute to our community and make this this YouTube page full of videos as insights and resources. It's hopefully an easy to navigate page. So I've sectioned everything into different playlists. So if you're looking for a specific video on headaches, go to the playlist called Headaches and the video will be there. If you're looking for a specific video on dysphagia and swallowing issues, go to the dysphagia playlist. If you're just looking for a video on my background and how I found out I had a brain tumor, there's actually a playlist called my journey before brain surgery, how I found out. And if you simply just want to sit there and digest all my videos, I've actually got one playlist called My Entire Journey, and it's literally got all of my playlists, all of my videos, one after another, so you can sit there and watch it. If you're a support network or a loved one of someone going through a brain surgery recovery journey, I've actually got a playlist specifically for you. It's called it's called For Support Networks. Excuse my my fumbling on my words there. As you brain surgery warriors know, it happens all the time, so all good. So guys, I've created my YouTube page as a tool and a resource for anyone and for their families. If you're going through brain surgery today, tomorrow, if you've been through it 5 years ago, or if you're going through it in 5 years, I don't wish that upon you, but you never know where life's going to take you. So that resource will be sitting there with videos full of insights and information on where you can go. Alrighty guys, I've covered off what my tumor is, my deficits, my recovery timeline, my tumor, what I have left, and what my passion is and how to navigate my page. So let's get onto the video. Alrighty guys, peace. Alrighty, so I guess topic number one, guys, let's touch on my new physical challenges. So there were a few. There was majorly 5. So first of all, I was really uncoordinated, incoordinated. Basically, the left-hand side of my body, it was like it had a stroke. It was like the left-hand side of my body was drunk and the right-hand side of my body was completely fine. So with my right hand and my right leg and my right eye and my right ear and my right everything, it was fine. My left hand was very uncoordinated. I struggled to pick things up. I struggled with I guess direction and being accurate with my left hand. Same with my left leg. So when I'm walking, my left leg doesn't strike where I want it to when I'm walking, which makes it very challenging. And yeah, even my left eye, which we'll get onto in a minute, was also heavily affected. So yeah, new physical deficit or new physical symptom number 1, the left-hand side of my body was very uncoordinated. Number 2, this uncoordination severely affected my walking. It still does to this day, nearly 5 years on, and it's very challenging. I can now walk, but when I'm going up and down staircases, I like to hold onto a rail, and only with my right hand, because again, my left hand is very uncoordinated, which living in Australia, where we always walk on the left-hand side of things, it makes it very challenging when I want to be on the right to hold a right-hand rail instead of the left. And then physical challenge number 3 was my swallowing. Now, this is a really weird symptom to be told. And just so you guys know, my surgeon told me all of this was going to happen before my surgery. So I knew it was coming. So yeah, he told me that my swallow would be heavily affected. And I was like, that's really weird. I really don't care. But as it turns out, my dysphagia, my challenges with swallowing was probably the hardest to cope with. And I will make another whole video just on that, because it is a big topic to unwrap. But yeah, it was very hard. Just pretend there's like a brick wall at the back of your throat and your brain doesn't know how to swallow any food or liquid or saliva past that brick wall. Very challenging. The 4th new physical deficit was I had severe double vision, or it's known as diplopia. For any of you anatomy or physiology nerds out there that wanted to know what it's scientifically called, it's called diplopia. So I couldn't see. Everything was spinning like this. It was absolutely horrible. Yeah, and I'll get more into that into my timeline next. And the 5th major thing at a new physical deficit was fatigue. Now, I've got loads and loads of other videos on my fatigue, and as a brain tumor warrior, as you guys know, when you are recovering from brain surgery, your brain is in overload. It's just had a huge physical trauma, and it makes you very tired, and you struggle to do the things you used to do before surgery. And me being a personal trainer, wanting to go back and to work out every day and to do a lot of hugely taxing things wasn't going to work. But if you are interested, I've got loads of videos in my fatigue playlists. So go check those out. So guys, those were my five new physical deficits. So it was severe uncoordination or incoordination, or however you say it. I don't know. Google it. Chuck it in the comments below. Let me know. Correct me. The second thing was my walking was severely affected. Like I literally couldn't even stand up for ages. The third thing was my swallow, dysphagia. The fourth thing was my eyesight, diplopia. And the fifth thing was my fatigue. All right. Now we're going on to the second thing. How long did each of them last? So I could not stand up for 1 month. I couldn't walk for 3 months. And I guess we'll go off onto a little tangent now about my walking. Every single day I was at the hospital for 5 weeks after my surgery. Every single day, their physio would come in and would try and get me to get up and go for a walk on a walking frame. And it was so incredibly hard. And I was on a lot of pain medication, so my motivation was quite low and I was very lethargic and very sleepy. But I knew in my head, no one else was going to do this for me. So I tried every day, even though I didn't want to get out of bed. I tried to get up on the walking frame and at least take a few steps. We eventually, before I left hospital, we got to the stage where we could do a lap around the hospital on a walking frame. I then asked the physio, I go, what's the furthest anyone in my situation has ever walked? And he goes, oh, we always stop at 1 lap. And me being ultra competitive, I said to him, look, I want to do 2 laps. So 2 days before I left hospital, I go to him, today's the day, we're going to do it. So we walked 2 full non-stop laps of the hospital on a walking frame. I was so stoked because not only did I get some endorphin rush and some oxytocin rush from achieving a goal, but I knew I was slowly getting better because I could go from that 1 lap to that second lap. So after 5 weeks, I then got released from hospital to a rehab facility. I still couldn't walk, so I got pushed in on a hospital bed. I got pushed into rehab. Now at rehab's amazing. So rehab, you do lots of physical therapy, as well as occupational therapy. So physical therapy is what it sounds like, right? It's like PT on steroids, personal training on steroids, where you do lots of balance and strength and mobility and strengthening framework exercises to try and improve so that you can learn to walk again. You can learn to use your hands and arms and stand up. Because as I mentioned, at this stage, I still couldn't even stand up. I was getting pushed in on a hospital bed. So I chose to do physical therapy twice every day. I could have done it once, but in my head, I'm like, I need to get myself better. So I chose to do it twice. I also had another rule, which I'll get onto at the end of the video, which really helped me move forward with my physical therapy. To fast forward this tangent, after 3 months, I taught myself to walk again. After going from a walking frame to a walking stick, I eventually left the rehab facility after 5 weeks of being in rehab, so 10 weeks in total, 5 weeks in hospital and 5 weeks in rehab. I walked myself out of rehab using a cane, which was a huge milestone for me, to have a bit of that independence back. So yeah, I guess the timeline for walking is I couldn't stand up for a month and I couldn't walk for 3 months. And I slowly got myself to the stage after 3 months where I could walk with a cane or a walking stick. And it was about 4 weeks after I got out of rehab and I was back living with my parents that I decided to go to a shopping center, and I decided to ditch the cane, ditch the walking stick, and I walked into that shopping center completely on my own. I walked like a little drunk penguin, and obviously people could tell there was something going on with me. I think they thought I was drunk. But yeah, just to have that physical independence back and to be able to walk in unassisted without a walking frame, without a walking stick, yeah, it was huge for me. So that was my walking timeline. 1 month I couldn't stand up, 3 months I couldn't walk, and then after about 4 months I was walking unassisted. But yeah, even to this day, I still need to hold on to rails going up and down stairs, but I'm way, 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 way better than I was. And yeah, I'm fully independent. I go for walks on the beach. I get around my job. I commute. I do all those things. So I can say my walking is still hampered and challenged, but I have my full independence back. So deficit number two um, is my swallowing. So how long did my swallowing challenges last for? So to be honest, it still lasts to this day, nearly 5 years later. But in the crux of it all, after the surgery, I could not swallow for up to 3 months. And now I'm going to backtrack a little bit and tell you how I managed to feed my body nutrients and stay, energized throughout my recovery. So when I was in hospital for that initial 5 week period, they put a feeding tube through my nose down the back of my sinus, which ended up in my tummy, and that's how I was getting fed. I was getting fed nutrients through that. It was incredibly, incredibly annoying to put in. It was painful. It made me sneeze, which was horrible because you've essentially got a metal rod or a tube all the way up your nose, down the back of your sinus, down the back of your throat and into your tummy. That's how they were feeding me. When my team worked out that I was probably going to need feeding assistance for a long time, they decided to ditch the nose feeding tube and put in what was called a peg. So the peg is basically you get a little hole drilled through your stomach or where your abs are, and into your actual stomach, and a tube is put through that hole and into your stomach, and then a little plastic container hangs out the this side of you, and I was just pouring essentially protein shakes 5 times a day into this little tube, and it would then go into my stomach, and that would not only keep me full, it would also give me the nutrients I needed to completely fully recover. So in hospital and in rehab, we would do speech pathology. So speech pathology is where you learn to pronounce words again, how to swallow, and more importantly, how to eat foods again. So we started on foods like sorbet, like ice cream, like pasta, like banana, just foods that were slippery, but not too slippery, because if I swallow things too quickly, I would choke. I pretty much choked on my food, my drink, my liquids, and my own saliva every day. It was very, 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 very hard and very challenging to learn to swallow again. Long story short, and I will go into another video on this in detail, so I am going to rush through this now. Long story short, after 3 months, I started to be able to eat foods again. I started to eat pasta. I started to eat thick shakes, milkshakes, bananas, things that were a bit easier to eat. And even up until this day, every food, every drink is a challenge. I have to mindfully eat on every single thing that I put in my mouth, and really focus on swallowing it. If I zone out and forget to focus, I do choke, because there is a new little technique or way I've learnt to swallow my food. And yeah, so after 3 months, I can pretty much eat most foods. And now, nearly 5 years later, I can eat all foods, but some foods are very challenging. Foods that are sticky, like chocolate. Foods that are also sticky, like smoked salmon, bacon, ham. All these things can get caught in the back of your throat. And in another video, we'll share on this more. But yeah, I have nearly choked to death 3 times because of the challenges I have with my saliva. With my swallowing, sorry. So yeah, even the people in my office each day have to put up with me essentially coughing a lot, because I choke on my saliva probably 6 times a day. But they know I don't have the flu, or I'm not sick. I'm just swallowing. I'm just struggling to swallow my saliva. So the third timeline of things to recover after brain surgery. So my eyesight, it was so severely double vision that I literally could not watch TV. I couldn't look at anything. I couldn't read. And as you now know, I was in hospital for 5 weeks, and I was in rehab for another 5 weeks. So I was in recovery for 10 weeks, and I couldn't see. And all I wanted to do was sit there and watch TV and help read things and just let that pass the hours in a day, because being in bed for 22, 23 hours a day, it is challenging. You've got to find things to pass the time. And not being able to read or watch TV or watch sport or watch movies was very, very challenging. So I listened to a lot of music. But after about 2.5 months, eventually I noticed I could start reading. I could start noticing. I could see things a bit more clearly. So yeah, I was stoked at this stage because I was still in rehab at this stage, and I started binge watching loads and loads of TV shows on my phone to help pass the day. Because after about 7.5, 8 weeks of being in a hospital bed, it was getting a bit tiring, a bit long, and I wanted new things to kind of entertain me and help pass the day quicker. So yeah, I will do another video on my eyesight, but my eyesight is still challenged, and even to this day, my left hand side, my left eye, my challenged side, I get severe dry eye to the extent where it goes blind, and I have to use lubricating eye drops to help lubricate and moisturize that eye so I can see. I can see you guys now. So those are my timelines. So just to quickly wrap up my timelines, I couldn't stand up for a month. I couldn't walk properly for 3 months. I started walking independently after 4 months. I started eating properly after 3 months, being able to swallow food and liquid again after 3 months. And I started to be able to see again after 2.5 months. And my fatigue, there's no time on fatigue. 5 years later, I'm still fatigued. Everyone's story is going to be different. Everyone's recovery and fatigue levels will be different. But yeah, you've got to remember, our brains are in recovery mode. They've had a massive trauma, so you're going to naturally be neurologically fatigued no matter what. Alrighty, guys. Point number 3 to this video, and I guess the secret or my tip for rehab. So when I went to rehab and I chose to do more, I chose to do 2 physical sessions instead of 1. I always made sure I turned up 10 minutes early to physical therapy, and I always left 10 minutes afterwards. So I would always go to physical therapy at 9:30 in the morning. So I would start 9:20. I would jump on the bike. I would cycle. My left leg, as you now know, was severely uncoordinated, so it kept falling off the pedal. But I just kept persistent and kept at it. I just wanted to cycle for 10 minutes before every physical therapy session I could. And I did it at the end of every physical therapy session. This mentality, this do more, and arrive early and show up late. Arrive first and show up last, leave last. I feel that mentality helped drive me to be able to walk again, to walk unassisted, to swallow again, to eat foods I couldn't eat before. And it just really got my rehab up and running, because yeah, there were stages, I'll be honest with you, where I thought I was going to be, for lack of a better term, a vegetable. I didn't know how I was going to walk again. I thought I was going to have to crawl around for my whole life. But yeah, I really dedicated my mentality to arrive first, arrive early, put in the hard work, leave last, and put in the hard work at the end, and do 2 sessions a day where it was available to me. And yeah, I've really focused on putting a lot of effort into my rehab and my recovery journey. So Ashwari, who asked a question about this video, she also asked me, Joel, what's the best exercise for recovery? In all honesty, Ashwari, there's no one exercise. It's doing all of the exercises that my physical therapist requests me to do, and just improving on each of them a little bit by a little bit. Because all rehab is, you're trying to improve your balance, your strength, and your coordination. Now, I was lucky I could go to rehab and have a physical therapist. If you, your brother, anyone else watching out there, if you don't have the ability to go to a physical therapist, just try and do something small you couldn't do yesterday. Try and take a step forward, or a step back, or a step to the side, or a step to the other side. Little things you couldn't do yesterday, try and do them today, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. I will do a whole video on rehab and recovery success and my tips, but I just wanted to throw that in now at the end of this video. So great question, Ashwari, and I really love that you're supporting your brother through this very difficult time. I know you had a few other questions in that comment, so I will make more videos on that at a later date, so don't worry, I will get to those. And guys, just to wrap up the video, as I always do, if you are going in for chemo or radiotherapy or a treatment or surgery, or you're going for an MRI and you're awaiting some results, I wish you nothing but the best, and sending loads of positive vibes to you. Alrighty, guys. Take care. See you in the next video. Peace.